Faith Forged in Fire, where we dive headfirst into the unique challenges and triumphs that comes with being a firefighter, all while exploring what it means to live out a biblical worldview. Join us as we find hope, perseverance, and faith in the midst of the heat and chaos. Welcome to the podcast.
Did you hit the button?
Yeah, it was on. Did you? Oh, you.
Oh,
hit the button.
yeah. He hit it.
I hit the button and I said, "Oh yeah, good point."
He thought it said eject, not reject. Eject.
That's why I hit it so many times.
Well,
You gonna open us with a little music?
chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
I thought his music
Jack
would play.
Frost nipping at your nose.
I thought it was toes.
I thought it was nose. Isn't it nose?
You better look up the lyrics.
Oh, I might have to do that in the next episode. I have to do it again and look it up. Welcome back. Welcome back to Faith Forged in Fire.
Is that where we're at? Sorry,
that?
I'm sorry. I'm
Jake, are you
again.
here?
The snarkiness is not going away yet. I'm working on it.
It's not a week.
It's a week of this nonsense.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Hey,
I know.
this guy needs a hug.
I changed my clothes and everything.
Oh,
Not your attitude.
I'm gone here. Oh no, I'm back.
Keep the same
I
clothes.
lost it. I was gone in the. That's weird. I was gone there for a minute. I was
you
talking.
doing?
There's nothing in
But
there.
our ratings went up for about 2 seconds.
Exactly.
They jumped. It peaked and it came right back down.
So, welcome back, Faith Forged in Fire, where we embrace the fires that forge your character.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. And I don't even have it in front of me.
Jake is struggling to embrace those fires at the moment.
Yes, yes.
Look at PJ. He's
That's
sitting
true.
here
They're
going,
burning me
you
up.
guys can't see, but
Yeah.
YouTube people, PJ's sitting here going like, who are these clowns and what are they doing on
That's
my
right.
podcast?
Yeah.
He's
My
regretting
goodness.
taking time off.
So, for everybody that's listening, Jake needs a hug today, and so we're going to give a little hug to Jake. He's having a rough one today. So, you know what? We're going to pick up the pieces. We're going to pick up the pieces, and we're going to carry you,
good.
Jake. That's what the team does.
I appreciate
We
it,
love
Steve.
on
Thank
you,
you.
buddy. We're carrying you across the finish line.
Thank you.
So,
All right, get on with it.
I don't know what Steve's talking about.
I don't either.
How we do it.
We might drag him, but I
Kick
don't
him
know.
or trip him, maybe. But
so what we wanted to kind
With
of
friends like these, who needs enemies?
Exactly. So today, what we wanted to kind of chat about a little bit was, as we're getting close to the proverbial new year, and you always have the New Year resolutions, we want to kind of talk about the coming up year and kind of in the spiritual sense, firefighting sense, kind of maybe some resolutions that or some goals that you guys have. And let's just talk. Wow.
Listen, I refrain from
I'm
saying
just
anything.
I'm
Is
just
it me?
thinking that the joke's on Steve, because I heard you guys already say, and I was thinking the same. I ain't got any. This is all you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Steve Shuska podcast.
Wow. Are you dead serious? Is this totally on me? Did you set me up?
We have 2 different chat groups.
Oh, you do?
One includes you and one doesn't. So you're not in.
One of you, or one of them, you left.
This we never dropped the apple.
We never got it. It's still there. Yeah.
Oh,
What are we going to do to Steve tonight? Oh, yeah.
So this is all part of Rich's plan to dump this podcast and get the Behind Their Backs podcast going.
That's right.
So what they're talking about, if you don't know, is we used to have a group chat thing, and my old work phone, which I no longer have, was an Apple. Was
You
an
don't have
iPhone.
the phone or you don't have the job?
Well,
Yes.
well, I was going to talk about that in this one. No, so yeah, okay. Well, then let's go back to that. So I recently have changed jobs, still in the fire industry, but just I'm doing something a little different now. So with that, I used to use my work phone, and it was an iPhone. We used to have like a.
Is
chat
that why you
thing.
don't have your job anymore? Because you misuse work property? like you were supposed to be using your work phone for personal things? And
This sleigh
they
is
found
really
out?
blown off
Wow,
course.
this is a total setup, everybody. Yeah, no,
Steve will never be pointed
Well, I
out
hope
on
your new
podcast
job doesn't
again.
find out.
Oh man! Am I bleeding? So no. I used to have an iPhone, and we used to use that, and we had a group chat. Well,
We still do. The
Yeah,
new
I know,
guy
I
has
know,
your
I know.
phone.
Not
He's
Not
been
our
helping.
fault. He
Yeah.
got a new job.
well,
At least the new guy's been giving us some topics.
So apparently I've been replaced. I had no idea that was happening today. No, with my new job, I've been given a new work phone, but it's an Android phone, so I no longer have the Apple. Well, these guys all have their iPhones, and so they have, I guess, and I'm just finding this out now, they have continued on the chat without me. We were coming over to a new chat on my new phone, and actually, which I put it from my work.
Did you notice that chat has been extra quiet?
I know. Hold on. And if my new job is listening to me, I put it on my personal Android phone, and I told the guys I gotta make this on my personal phone now. So I have 2 Androids. I have a personal and a work phone. So
is your work phone an iPhone?
No, my old one was.
You're okay.
Yeah, no, the new one is an Android as well.
Android. Oh, all right.
So I have 2 Android phones. One's a personal one, and then one's a work one. But
big downgrade.
I did.
Gentlemen, how does it feel to be up on this ivory tower?
I know, it's crazy.
I don't like it. I'd go back to Android yesterday if I could.
Oh, wow.
Would you really? It's weird. Well, not only that, we're doing on the new one. We're doing.
Hey, where's that squirrel?
I know.
Where is Smokey?
Okay.
What in the world?
Hey, I'm just trying to eat up time now since I'm the only one going down the road here today.
Throw that
Did not sign up to have
looking at you
conversation
right now.
on
I
phone.
know. Well, okay. So let's get back to the topic at hand.
What was it?
We haven't even gotten to it yet.
I know.
What are you talking about?
I guess we're going to talk about just
Jiminy.
my
We can't get back
goals
to it.
and resolutions from the previous year. So I'll just talk about it and about myself. Thanks, guys. This is good. So, no, this is awful. This is awful.
So, Jake,
no
do you
idea.
have any New Year's resolutions?
No.
PJ, do you have any New
Not
Year's
a thing.
resolutions?
Not a thing.
No, I don't.
All right, time to end this plane.
All right. RedFlannelCoffeeCode.com.
All right. So, in seriousness,
That was good.
Steve, that was way too easy to derail you like that.
I know.
It really didn't take much,
It didn't. So here's the thing. I don't have any. Serious. I don't.
For real, I don't either.
Well,
I don't do them. It's not a thing for me.
Well, no, and I don't generally either. But let's say this: we talked about the fire service. Let's go on the fire service side,
Right.
Rich, as the chief, let's just even do this. Let's look back on this year as we're currently in now, and look about your job and some of the good things that happened, and maybe some of the things you'd want to change moving forward into the new year.
Got
There
any
were things
more
you could talk
new
about.
jobs out there?
What can you talk about?
I mean, when it comes to that, if you're talking about goals, of course, I always want to be better trainings, better morale, make everybody happy and do a good job, take care of the customers, as some people call them, and do that. But that's not necessarily something that I'm going to come up with on January 1st, because I'm doing that today. I was thinking that a month ago. I'll be thinking that if I'm still the chief next year, those kind of things. So goals, I mean, those are always evolving, I guess.
Yeah. What about spiritually? And you being a newer believer of the group, what do you feel like you want to do differently in your prayer life, biblical life? What are you feeling like? What is God putting on your heart?
Church more Bible study, those kind of things. Try to, everybody goes like, well, I was too busy to go to church. So put a little more time management into it so I can spend some more time in the Word.
Yeah.
But again, that's something, I know we're talking about New Year's resolutions and that kind of stuff. But if I'm going to sit here and go like it's December 19th, 20th is the day that patch, I'm not going to say that I'm going to, I don't care about my Christian, spiritual walk right now. I'll wait and worry about that January 1st.
And I guess let's put it this way, since this has been derailed from the original topic of no one does which I don't think any of us do, and I don't either, because they never, what do they say, like what are the percentage of resolutions that actually work out? It's a very low percentage. The guy that wants to be in the gym, they'll be in the gym for the month of January, and then that's it, and they're gone for the rest of the year. But more of just like the reflecting back on this year. I mean, I look at like this podcast, how cool that, and you sent out the other day on social media some of like the cool things.
Yeah, there's been a lot of growth on it this year.
A lot of growth. And I look at, this time last year, I never thought that I'd be sitting here with you guys and how cool.
We didn't either.
No, I know. It probably was. He probably
totally messed up last year's New Year's resolutions, and we're not doing them anymore.
And if you think this podcast is cool now, you should have seen it 2.5 years ago.
I'm sure. No, but I mean, I remember, and I told you, for me, I remember when I moved out to Michigan from Arizona, that was a big deal. And obviously in a number of ways, but what I was thinking in my mind was, all right, Lord, I knew my purpose when I was there. Because there was a very clear purpose when I was in Arizona where God was using my life and using my testimony and whatever like that. So when I came out here, I'm thinking, well, all right, well, I can see my wife's purpose and I see my kids' purpose, family and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, what's my purpose? And really was kind of searching around and thinking, well, maybe you're done with me. Maybe that my time was in Arizona and that's it. Now it's just for me, just me and you and take care of this family, whatever. And then when this podcast showed up and you guys were so kind to let me hang out for a while.
We felt bad.
I know you did.
Nobody told him that we're not. He just didn't leave.
Well, it was a combination of me not leaving and you guys feeling sorry for me.
Like literally,
eventually,
we came here tonight and he was still here.
You're still here.
It's like
I picked up that bed in the corner 10 times. Changed the lot. No, seriously, we don't.
Your wife sponsors us. We just don't talk about it.
As long as she keeps buying coffee, so it's
$200 a month to keep Steve out of the house for a night.
Oh, believe me, she's like, I want you to go back to work, but you need to go on the road or whatever.
So to that point though, in seriousness, I mean, I know I'm interrupting you, but
no, it's all right.
That's when you reflect and think about, I would have never guessed that the podcast would be where it is now and that we would have gotten to see, it's not huge, but the impact has been incredible. And so a couple of thoughts. So that's one of the reasons I struggle with New Year's resolutions, because what does the Bible say? Man plans his ways, but God establishes his steps. Like it doesn't matter what goals I have. And I in seriousness, there are some things, but they're like you said, Rich, they're not like, oh, I'm going to do this in 2024. I want to keep doing or get better at doing what I already am on a daily basis. Yet we always got to be ready for God to throw a wrench into things, because no matter how much I plan, he's already got my life laid out for me. And so we look at this, like this time last year, I think you and I were kind of going, all right, are we going to keep doing this podcast thing?
Right.
And then Steve came along and Jake came along and it's a whole different ballgame. So now things are, it's just different.
Better.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking.
Well, and I was thinking about what you just mentioned about even the things that are coming from the podcast. And you and I had a conversation the other day about a couple of really cool things.
Very specific.
You were telling me about. And I was just thinking about going, either this certain individual, I never would go figure that, even we've seen some actual individuals and some stories I talked to you guys about.
Tangible fruit we've seen from the podcast.
And who would have thought? And what's crazy is now I think about the purpose thing, right? Because I kind of told you guys when I came on.
I'm just saying, sorry, I keep interrupting you. How many people have we talked about this year that have gone to church for the first time, at least for the first, if not the first time in a really long time?
Yeah.
In some way connected to the podcast.
I know, it's crazy to watch. But what's neat is I remember after we had our episode when I came on, I was fortunate enough God used me to give my testimony.
You had an episode, all right.
That was an episode, yeah. But what was crazy is I remember because at the end of that we kind of talked about maybe me coming aboard, right at the end of that episode, because it went really well and stuff. And I remember driving home, and I remember who I was talking to, but I thought, well, this is my purpose. Like I knew right there on the spot. I know.
Now we can't fire him.
I know. Now you feel
it's really angling to not get kicked out.
Like gum to our shoe. We're stuck with him.
But I remember driving home going, man, this is the purpose. And God, maybe you're not done with me. Maybe it's just taking my purpose to a different level or somewhere different. And again, totally unexpected. Never would have said that coming out to Michigan, that I'd be a part of this incredible podcast with three other incredible guys. I know. It's okay.
Which podcast is that?
I know. It's not the
it's not mine.
But Behind Your Backs one. but it was just great to be a part of this, and with three great guys, 3 new friends that I've made over time, and we just enjoy this thing. So again, it's been incredible. Never would have said that. And then moving forward, obviously, this has just been such a part of my life now. I can't wait to see where God's going to take this thing and how much more it's going to become, and how many more people that God will, use this for, that a life has changed, and that's just fun.
And I think that's a struggle with laying out resolutions or goals. I mean, you need goals, and there's a couple that I'll share at some point in the podcast. But we didn't know where this was going. We couldn't have guessed this. We couldn't have laid this out. But then on the other hand, we don't know where it's going in the next year. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. We don't know what God's going to do.
We don't know what God's
doing. But what we know is that if God has put this in our lives and said, I don't like using the word called us to do that, because it's not, but God has laid this on our heart, given us this burden, and he never told us it had to be huge.
No,
he just said, do it. And so when we think about the goals for me, thinking about I literally put keep podcasting, because we know this can be hard, especially for people who don't know, for us, the last couple of months, especially just because of so much going on in our lives, are difficult. That's why 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it was, we didn't have a podcast, because we all just said, look, it's not going to work. We need a little break. We need, so, I just have been reminded that God didn't put this on our heart to be big. Obviously we want to reach as many people. We need to be faithful. That's my point.
Yeah.
So when we look at next year, I can't say I have all these goals. My goal is to continue to be faithful, even when it's hard, to be a part of this podcast, and to do our best to do it with excellence.
But that was one of our goals, I think, when you and I first started this. Do we want 1.5 million viewers? Heck yeah, we do. Absolutely. But we knew going into it, when it was just you and I downstairs at the folding table, it's like, hey, let's look at this realistically. If we only have 25 viewers and one person stumbles across our podcast and that leads them to Christ, this podcast was successful. We don't care. We don't care if we're on, late night TV as some awesome guest, or anything like that. It's the few people. And if they're called to see our podcast, then that's what we want. Of course, we want to save more than one person, or not save them, but, lead them to God. Of course we do.
But here, let me put this in perspective. This was just putting my heart just now. I think about my previous job when I was doing sales. One of the things that was hard for me in that job was I had such a large territory sometimes that it was hard to make those relationships, right? And what I just felt like I became was more of an order taker or a quote taker than I was someone with the one-on-one, right? So one of the things I realized in that job is sometimes in sales, they go, well, if we give you a bigger territory, you got more customers, whatever. But in all reality, I can have a smaller territory, but have more of that relationship, and I can still achieve the same goal, right? So if you think about it in the podcast, we can get big, but are we really, is it as effective maybe as if we're just on a smaller level where there's 25, 30, 35, 40 people, but yet God is using this podcast with those people that's making such an impact.
It's opening doors personally for us with people. It's not just people learning. Like we're not hearing of people across the world that are like, oh, I went to church because of your podcast. It's people in our lives that God is using this to open doors.
I ran a medical call, and we get the patient in the back, and one of the girls that's in the truck, I almost called it a bus, in the truck comes out and she goes, hey, I like your podcast, by the way. I listen to it all the time.
And I'm like, and we don't even know who this person is.
But the thing is, they kind of know me because a lot of them call me Chief.
Yeah.
So apparently, word is out, small town, I can't keep track of everybody. I try to keep track of everybody's names, make it a more personal, but she comes up and she goes like, hey, I listen to your podcast. I like it. And I'm like, how do you even know who I am?
Right.
But how cool is that?
Right.
And it's a personal touch. It's not millions of viewers. It's somebody you interact with.
And I think that she worked a couple shifts with a girl that works for the more popular ambulance in my area. We'll try not to say names, but the girl that she worked with, I think, was Tori. And Tori's a super girl, and I think that she listens to the podcast. Yeah. So she's out.
Cool is that,
spreading, she's out spreading the word too, I think. So
yeah, but I mean, how cool is that? And again, even if it's a small, because the thing is we have to realize in life, like even if we live this life and one person in your whole life, you could be a Christian for 40 years, and if one person's affected, then it's all worth it, right?
Exactly.
I was thinking about the person that you ever see the story with Billy Graham, and it was like there was like one person that
preaching on the corner,
something like that, and Billy Graham and that changed his life. I'm like, what Billy Graham did. Right. So you just never know,
right? Exactly.
So that's what's so cool about this podcast.
So you will use that word that we like to use here, segue, right? You teed up from one of my goals, and here, so I've been reading this book for those of you who understand Christianese lingo, right? We call it a commentary. But really it's just theologians have written and studied out a book. And I have been reading this commentary on Matthew, just sitting and reading it. And I've just loved it. But one of the things that he brought out really, really struck me, and the Holy Spirit reconvicted me of, and so it's just kind of one of those ongoing goals is, he brought out the point that Matthew, if we read the book of Matthew or any of the other gospels, they never talk about the details of Jesus as a child, other than a couple of the key things. But we have no idea what it was like for his family, his brothers, to live with him, because we didn't need to know. Okay, first of all, because if we believe the Bible is inspired, then God just, they don't need to know, so we're not going to put that in there. But what he brought out was, the writers were so focused on the gospel, sharing the gospel. That's, I think about the book of John, and John clearly says, these things I have written so that you will believe. Those things, though we would love to know what it was like for Jesus as a child and living with him, those things do not help somebody believe. Right. So the point being, they were so focused on the purpose of their life and the purpose of their writing that they didn't have time or space to fill it with frivolous things. And as I read and thought about that, the conviction for me was, and a goal is continuing to carve out and hone my schedule to live in such a way of purpose, right? We always say, well, I don't have time. Well, we do. We just fill it with more frivolous things.
Yeah.
Right.
And that really, my point, I really believe that I am here and that every Christian is here. God left us here to win people to Christ, more so to make disciples. It starts with winning them to Christ and then helping them grow in Christ.
Yeah.
So if it's not gospel oriented, then what am I doing? And so I think about the podcast, right? We've talked a lot about the impact of the podcast, and I have been really kind of challenged of my own that as we go into 2024 to put a little more focus. The reality is we're busy and we do our best to not throw a podcast together last minute.
Yeah.
But I've just been challenged that, hey, if this is as important as we say it is, then I need to treat it that way, and I need to spend more time praying about it. I need to spend more time just thinking about, okay, what are these episodes? So that's for me, and there are many other things that fall under that, but that's really a challenge for me, not a resolution. I've already been convicted on that, so it's another one of those. I'm going to keep improving. I'm going to keep honing it, because it was just another reminder from God to say, hey, your life is about one thing and the rest of the stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, because it kind of teeing off into my segue here a little bit about, and again, I just mentioned it, I started a new job. Well, the thing with the previous job, and it was a great job in many ways and financially and whatever, but one of the things that I noticed was, even though, and me and Josh were just talking about this before the podcast, was that even though I wasn't always working, I was always working. I wasn't always engaged outside of my job like I should have been, because again, you get into a culture, you get into a rhythm, you get into the job just sometimes just, gives consuming. Yeah. Thank you. It was consuming me where I was, just always busy mentally. And what's great about what I'm doing now is that's different now. It's changed. There's that separation in my job now. And one of the things I'm thinking about now is that I got to get back to just that relationship with the Lord. I think I put everything, whether I realize it or not, kind of on, not on purpose, but just because, again, I'm focused on providing for the family, that everything kind of, a little bit goes to the side. And now I'm thinking, like, I'm shutting the work phone off at night. I got this family but I got to spend that time with the Lord. And it goes along with the same thing with the podcast, making sure I'm investing the right time, the proper time in the podcast, and doing what God wants me to do in this thing as well, and not just showing up, right? But investing that time. So investing more time in the Lord. And I feel like I have that ability to do that. So investing more time with my family and the Lord is like a big thing for me right now that has really been put on my heart. And going into this new year is something I really want to do in a big way.
Well, that's dead. No, that's good. I think it causes people just to sit and think, what are we doing? What's important? And that when I think I mentioned in the last episode that my wife came up with these topics, and that's why, even though I knew, for me, I'm not a resolution guy, it's always good to think about the past, and kind of reevaluate and think about going forward. And the new year is just natural for that. It just always is, right? Yeah, and you get into this time, you can't help but reflect on the year and think about what's ahead in the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and then when we go into the resolution thing, it's not that we have a resolution. It's more of, it is that time of reflection when we're closing out another year of our lives and saying, wow, what happened in 2024 that was special? What was rough? What was, what's to look forward to? And I think that's just natural as humans. We just do that anyway. What about you, Jake? You haven't said
no. I've just been taking it in. I also don't set resolutions. I don't know. I've always kind of thought it was a silly concept. But I'm pretty goal oriented. So I set 1, 5, and 10 year goals. And I typically, reevaluate them every year. That's more just on a personal level and seeing how I meet, certain expectations of myself. But no, I mean, staying, rooted in the word is a big one for me, especially, again, being active in many different things, trying to, prioritize that time. We were talking about that just a minute ago about, it's not that you don't have the time, it's that you're just not prioritizing that time. Yeah. And I need to do a better job of that, prioritizing that time. And you'd mentioned, going to church more. Another thing that I'm terrible at, my wife and I in the summertime, we're terrible about going to church. Like, we are always gone. We're always away doing things. And so that normally takes us away from church. It's not to say that we couldn't, find one to go to for that Sunday, which we probably should. It's just being more intentional with that time. So that, I think for me, that is probably the biggest thing, is being more intentional and prioritizing time better.
How do you look back on this year?
It's been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year. You were talking about that mental busyness, and my brain doesn't shut up. I live on about anywhere from 3 to 5 hours of sleep at night.
Wow.
I mean, wow. Daily. That is just not by choice. It's just, my mind is very active. And so, I'm always, analyzing things and in processing things. And so, going into next year, I mean, the business is growing, which is great. That, is potentially good things for here. But more than anything, even getting the coffee company going, it's using it as a ministry, using it to serve God. And, from the get-go, that has been my focus, and it remains my focus. And I think going into next year, it's, seeing how I can, further carve that out and hone that, and, use that, again, being more intentional, using that more intentionally for those purposes.
Wow. Thank you. The coffee company has been great. And I know you and I have talked about it. It's what a blessing that God has blessed that coffee, the coffee business. And what it's done for you and the family and for the people that have benefited from the ADs and the buildings. How cool is that? You know, it's for such a great cause. So make sure anybody out there listening goes to Red Flannel Coffee Company and definitely supporting a good cause. You know, it's not just good coffee. It's a great guy, great family, and a great cause. You know, make sure we do that. That's anything else? Has anybody else got something they can think about?
Can I throw PJ under the bus really quick?
Yeah. Is it that time of the podcast?
I haven't brought this up because I know that he'd shoot this plan down. How much time do we have?
I would say, have we hit 20 minutes yet?
No, we're at
like 30.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make it quick. We started talking about, the beginning of the podcast. And if you've watched this podcast from like day one, and I mean like day one when PJ and Jason Sawtell started this, I think it had a different name.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't even fire related.
Yep. But that's what kicked this off. Jason got busy. PJ got busy. It just kind of was like, we're talking about time management.
Yeah, we mutually said this isn't the most important thing right now.
Working.
Right.
So if you are one of the people that came over from that podcast, that was Josh and Jason's, if you want to meet these two, there is an event that's called, I was thinking about this through this, so this is kind of off the cuff. It's called Responders in Faith 2025. Now, it's in Germantown, Ohio. It's March 7th and 8th. There's going to be 2 speakers, and I have to assume that these are in order of importance. Because the first one
they're not.
The first one is Joshua Putnam.
Or are they saving the best for last?
Whoa.
Yes. We'll go with that.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know about that. Then there's a Dr. Donnie Hutchison, and then Jason Sawtell is also going to be there.
Wow.
So,
And I think all 3, he's speaking at some point too. Jason is.
Well, it says that it sounds to me like you all are speaking.
Yeah,
So you better get your
all 3 of
speech.
us.
Is that a weekend?
going,
Is that a weekend?
Dorothy.
Better get your speech
I'm not
going.
just smiling and
Is it a
it is a
weekend?
weekend. It's a Friday and Saturday, Friday night and Saturday.
Can people stop by and get autographs?
Can we come by too, or what? What's the deal?
Well, actually, this is interesting about this. No, you can't. And I'm serious.
Oh, that's because it's firefighter.
It's
That's
for
right. It's firefighter.
any first responder.
Yeah,
but
no,
you either
you're
have
right.
to be a first responder
You're
or
right.
either a first responder or retired first responder. So you technically could come.
Application.
I'm pretty
I
sure
can
my
have you
EMS
hired by February.
I'm pretty sure my
might-
EMS license is still valid.
You might,
Oh, well.
but I'm just saying seriously. It's very,
you did say that. I
it's
remember
very focused, and that's what's unique about it.
Yeah,
and so
I remember that.
It gives the opportunity to be able to even speak in a way that when there's not civilians there, but it's put on by a church. It's Christian based, like everything we're doing here. It fits perfectly
Sure.
with that.
It costs $50,
Yeah, plus hotel,
and it's Heroic Deeds.
heroic deeds.
Heroic Deeds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hero I see is okay.
.org.
Yeah,
And
you
it
can.
says /RIF 2025. But I think not only would it be a cool event for some people that maybe are in Ohio that are listeners and they want to meet Joshua in person or meet Jason Sawtell. We've talked about his book quite a few times. If you wanted to meet those 2 guys both in person, I am sure that for $5 you probably could get Joshua's autograph. Jason,
And listen, you could turn around and sell it for at least 5 cents, 10 cents.
yeah, and if you send me 50, I'll send you his address, his driver's license number, the social security number.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I think also not just to meet these 2 guys, but I think it would be, if you had the opportunity to go to that, I think it would be a very good thing for people to go to. I don't know all the details of who these people are, what they are, but I know that it's going to be a very spiritual thing.
It's very focused on encouraging first responders. All the things we're doing here, embracing the fires that forge our character. That's what this is about. And so I was really honored. I really was kind of like me, so, and I still feel that way. I looked at that list and I text Rich and I said, I don't even really know what my name is doing on this list. Right. God's grace, right? We talked about having no idea what a year would bring. And here's this opportunity now that God has opened up for me to do this. And I got to say, I'm excited, but I'm incredibly humbled. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm anybody that needs to be.
And that's
doing
why
this.
I didn't mention it at all, that I thought about it on the way here about bringing it up. And then I was him and Han and him and I'm like, well, he does have Jake and Steve, so if he fires me, I'm okay. I'll slide my way home. But you never, And you never take credit. And I get that because God's put this into your life. So this is, like you've said, your calling, so to speak. It's your burden to bear and that kind of thing. But I also thought it was pretty important that people knew about this, that they had the opportunity. If they wanted to meet you guys in person, they could. Yeah. Or, you know, even if
we'll
they don't
share some more, and you can go to our Facebook page because I did share their first advertisement there because the reason I'm doing it is I have not been there yet, but I know the people. I know Jason well, and he said, "Hey, this is something that is right. This fits right." And as I've gotten to know Chad, the guy who leads it, just their mission and their heartbeat is right with ours, and so I'm sharing it because it's a great opportunity for you to go, right? So I want you to go and benefit. I might not be the one you benefit from, but I want you to go and benefit. And so we'll keep sharing that stuff. There's a possibility down the road as we get a little closer, maybe we'll have Chad on to talk about it because we want to promote it. This has been it's a neat thing. A church had a burden. It started out really small. And it's grown to, I think they said somewhere around, I think last year there might have been like 300-400 people. Oh, wow. So it's growing, right? And it's just a church who loves first responders, wants to be able to encourage them and help them. And so, cool. Go check it out, heroicdeeds.org. Like I said, check out our Facebook page. You'll see a little bit more there.
Well, talking about that, we probably should time the lander. You know, land the sleigh, right?
It's snowy outside. Get the skis out.
And believe me, there's plenty of cushion out there for landing right now. There's no doubt about it.
We joked about Steve sleeping. He might actually sleep here tonight.
I don't know if that van can get me home. I'm not sure, but no. We want to thank you again for joining us for another episode. Remember, if you come see us on Facebook, on Spotify, and any social media that many of the podcast areas, you can go see us on there. Make sure you like us, share it, let people know what we're doing here, and please, the more you share it and the more you like it, the more it kind of gets out into the stratosphere there, and more people see it. And we thank you. Also, if you want to share anything with us, whether a show idea, you got something you need prayers for, you just want to talk, whatever like that, please come to our email at ffifpodcast@gmail.com. So, and then we talked about our great sponsor, as always, Red Flannel Coffee Company. Yep. And
thank you, Ariel.
What? So
I'm sure you're welcome.
Hey, and one more thing.
I don't dare speak on her behalf.
The week before, we are a week out, so I want to get this in there too.
Yeah.
Next week's episode will be a special Christmas episode, and it will air on Christmas morning, same time. I think these come out at like 5:30, both on YouTube and then on, as Steve said, pretty much any podcast that you listen to. Pretty much any podcast platform that you listen on is what I meant to say. But at 5:30 Christmas morning, we're going to have that week's episode. So there won't be one for that Friday.
So after you've hung your stockings with care, but before you open their presents.
Yes.
There you go. You got something in between.
Right. And it may be an episode where you can play it for the whole family. And it kind of celebrates the. Oh,
you're putting a lot of pressure on us.
Well,
to pull it together
the reason for the season, right?
Right.
Hey, I'm excited because I can't wait for you to sing that the whole song.
Yes,
that's going to be the intro, right?
The Jack Frost nipping at my toes.
That's going to be it.
He's going to Google that.
I'm going to have no choice. I have to sing it now, right?
I hear sleigh bells.
Listen, Jack Frost, it's time to land this sleigh.
It's time to land the sleigh. But thank you so much.
He's biting my nose.
He is biting the nose. But thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care.
We out.